You're listening to the Modern Mom and Dad podcast, a modern take on marriage, relationships, parenting, life, and so much more. Before we get started with today's episode, I just want to share, if you're experiencing infertility or loss, our hearts go out to you, but this episode might be triggering.
Welcome back to the Modern Mom and Dad podcast. I'm your host, Ty.
And I'm your other host, Caitlyn.
And we are pregnant.
We're pregnant! Oh my gosh, I can't believe we're saying that.
I'm still in denial.
Yeah, me too. You and I both. I'm still trying to process it all. We officially announced over on YouTube and our Instagram that we are expecting our baby number 2, and our IVF transfer was successful, and it's just been such a crazy road. And I think actually saying the words, I'm pregnant, is so hard to get out because I never thought, I don't know, I never thought we were going to be able to say this, and I just convinced myself that this wasn't going to work. And
yeah, I knew our chances were good once we had the couple embryos, but I was still in denial that it would work, I guess. Me
too. I think you protect your emotions and your heart so much when you're going through infertility that it's hard to allow good things in, and I think I'm starting to get over that, but I think it's just been kind of hard to process the fact that it worked and we are actually pregnant. I mean, I don't want to come off like we're not excited, because we are. Very much we're so excited, but it's definitely been, it's been an adjustment to.
Yeah, and it's still very early.
Yeah.
So I'm very, obviously, cautiously optimistic, but
maybe that's what I'm trying to say too. I'm definitely cautious, but I feel very very confident about this pregnancy, and maybe it's because we're getting really good beta blood draws, and my HCG is rising, and
very much so.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So her HCG went up so much that I think it's twins.
Oh my gosh. Okay, hold on.
Yeah, that's jumping the gun. But I'm convinced it's twins, but we won't know until Monday.
Yeah, Monday.
The ultrasound.
So maybe we should just give a quick little, I don't want to go into detail about how we got to the IVF process, because I've gone very much into detail over on my YouTube channel. So I have an entire playlist called TTC Baby Number 2, I believe is what it's called, and I share
TTC is trying to conceive.
Trying to conceive, yeah. It's a TTC term. There's a lot of trying to conceive terminology that I've had to learn. Anyways, I went into detail very much so throughout our entire infertility journey over on YouTube. So if you're wanting to learn more about that, I'm Caitlyn Neier on YouTube. You can go check that out. But let's kind of talk about how we found out and what that was like.
Well, you were taking the at-home pregnancy tests.
Yeah, so
which isn't advised. If you ask the IVF doctor,
but I don't know
they'd probably
why.
Say don't, or they never told us not to, but they never told us to, because it might give you a false sense of oh, it's happening.
Possibly, yeah, but some women I think have to take trigger shots, which is HCG, and so it can give you a false positive.
Oh, yeah. I remember. Yeah, we never had to do that, though.
We didn't have to do that. So I knew if we saw a positive pregnancy test, we were pregnant. We took our first pregnancy test together 4 days post-transfer. I feel so bad because I told Ty I wasn't going to test without him.
And she did.
I did.
In the morning, right?
Did. Yeah, the morning, or the 4th day past transfer, so, okay, it's 4DP, 5DT. So that means it's 4 days past a 5-day transfer. That's, again, the TTC terminology. But I woke up, and I was like, I'm just going to test with, a really cheap, one of those cheap pregnancy tests. And I kind of wanted to do it myself, but then I was also kind of I should wait for Ty. But I did it. I just did it myself because he was still sleeping, and I couldn't wait. And it was negative.
Well, and didn't you get up crazy early?
I was probably up at 4:30.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was
passed out, and you're taking a pregnancy test.
Yeah. And then I felt super guilty because I'm this isn't how I wanted it to go. What if it was positive? Then I'd feel really bad. But it was negative, and I was kind of bummed, but I knew it was really early. And so then what happened? We went to Scarlett's soccer game, I think.
Yeah, I believe so. Soccer game, and then when we got back, tested in the afternoon?
Yeah, Ty was like, are you going to take a pregnancy test today? And I hadn't told him yet. I was like, no, we should wait, because I knew it was negative. I was like, we should wait. And
then he
convinced me to.
Yeah, I was like, just take one.
So I got the first response, like the more sensitive ones, and we took it, and we waited like 5 minutes to...
And there was a tiny little faint line there.
Yeah, we looked at it, and I'm like, wait, what? Because I took one this morning, and it was negative, and so I was kind of like freaking out because I felt bad that I had taken one, but like also we just got a positive, and I'm so glad like we had that moment together. I think you were in denial because it was so faint, though.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's that early too. If it because you had a early, I guess, miscarriage your first time you got pregnant.
Yeah,
so,
I had
and that was like
pregnancy.
Yeah, chemical pregnancy. So
before Scarlett.
Yeah.
But
so that happened, and it was like what, a couple days of positive pregnancy test, and then that happened. So I was always kind of like skeptical on, not skeptical, but like
when I had
very cautious about it, like
right,
like getting the high is too high and the low is too low.
Yeah, you're good at that. No, when I had a chemical pregnancy, we got a positive pregnancy test on a Friday, and then I tested again on Sunday, and it was negative. Like we had a digital positive. And so that was a really confusing time, especially being pregnant for the first time ever. So that was hard. And I think those emotions kind of brought us back to that miscarriage time. But to me, when I saw that faint line, I knew, like, this is the closest we had ever gotten to being pregnant since, we were pregnant with Scarlett 5.5, 6 years ago. 5.5 years ago? No, it's like 6 years ago. Yeah, 6 years ago. So when I saw that faint line, that there was something there, I knew, like, this is it. This transfer worked. So we kept testing every morning and every night, and our test kept getting darker and darker, which indicates that your HCG is rising like it should be, and HCG is the pregnancy hormone. So that kind of, like, is what indicates if you have a viable pregnancy or not.
And what did it go from? It was...
So we had our first...
What were our levels?
Yeah, we had our first, it's called a beta blood draw in the IVF world. And that was on 9 days past our 5-day transfer. And our levels were at, or my hormone level was at 185.
Yeah, and that was right in the normal range?
That was right, yeah, that was like normal high.
And then you had to go back...
4 days later.
For the 13 days past?
Yeah, so 13 days past our 5-day transfer.
And they were 1650.
Yeah, so it definitely rose like it should.
But, and
pretty
then
high.
some. Yeah, and then some. Because it's supposed to double every couple days, right?
Well, we were told every 48 hours, but then when we shared this news on YouTube, a lot of people are saying it doubles every day. So I actually...
It does go up like exponentially. Like if you look at the graphs, it goes into like the tens of thousands.
Right. So we were told it doubles every 2 days, but who actually knows? But Ty over here is convinced that since my second beta was so high that we are having twins.
Well, and of course I went to Google and I started typing in our numbers and stuff, and like almost everything I saw, like there's some other YouTubers that had posted some stuff from the past, and like very similar numbers and, identical twins.
Yeah, now that we've been public with our news, I've had a lot of people reach out to me and say, hey, like, same thing happened to me. My embryo split. Now we have identical twins.
Yeah.
And I hope
so it's very possible.
It is possible. And the only way...
I just wish we knew. Like, I'll be happy either way.
Yeah, we'll find out on Monday.
It'd be pretty cool to have...
But the only way we could have twins is if our embryo split. We only transferred one embryo, so they would be identical twins if that happens, which I really don't think I don't think I'm pregnant with twins.
I think she is.
I think it's just one baby.
And I'm going to say I told you so.
I'm going to say
I don't know. I'll be
so.
happy. You might be right. But either way.
So
I'm excited just to know.
Me too.
I guess.
On the
I
other
never
hand,
thought of being like a twin parent, but I guess probably nobody does,
I haven't thought about that either because I'm pregnant with one baby. So.
Yeah.
On the other hand, a lot of women have also messaged me and said, hey, my levels were similar and I was pregnant with just one baby. So who actually knows? I really don't think HCG, I mean, it can indicate multiple pregnancy, but it doesn't always. So we will see. We do have our first ultrasound on Monday, which is so exciting. We get to see our baby for the first time.
Yeah, and it's weird because how far along are you? Like, if it was a regular pregnancy,
I think
it's weird to calculate because of the embryo.
I think I'm 5 weeks and 1 day.
5 weeks and 1 day. Okay.
I think so. And so we found out technically at like 2 weeks and I don't know. It's so early. Like I don't think a normal natural pregnancy you'd ever find out that early, but we were in the 2-week range when we found out we were pregnant. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's so different than naturally getting pregnant. Like the whole IVF process is a lot, but it's also reassuring, like for us, knowing that our like chances of miscarriage is decreased because we know our embryo is genetically normal. Mm-hmm. I've had a lot of people on Instagram ask like, do we have any precautions or like, and we do. Like things can still happen out of your control.
Yeah,
we could still
definitely.
we could still miscarry. But the risks are lower.
Yeah, the risks are lower. And I was surprised that, like, talking with the doctor and looking up the stats on, like, how many, like, natural pregnancies miscarry. It's like, really pretty high. And it's probably, like, so early that most women don't even realize it.
Like our chemical pregnancy that we
had.
Yeah,
like maybe they don't realize they're pregnant because it can happen so fast that
and
maybe
then,
maybe they just think it's their their menstrual period,
like a late period or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. But I know it's early too. Like I had a couple people message me and they're like, "Aren't you concerned about sharing so early?" And I swear I can never make everybody happy.
Yeah,
it's like I don't share soon enough or I share too early, and it's just something I've learned about being online. But it's so different going through IVF. It's so different, especially like for us sharing our journey online. We want to celebrate every win, mm-hmm. and this is definitely a huge win for us. So no matter the outcome, even though I really think it's going to turn out exactly the way it should, yeah. I think our embryo's here to stay. I really feel that. But no matter the outcome, we'd want to share. So. Yeah. But
there's a lot of people that are going through this.
Yeah.
And like infertility is like on the rise around the world, the country
crazy.
And the world. It's like scary how, like, what are we doing that's like in men, testosterone levels are lower, sperm counts are lower.
Well, for women, apparently we're using Olaplex, and that's what's causing our infertility. Have you heard about that?
No.
So there's an ingredient, I think it's called like Lilia, or I don't know. There's an actual like term for it that it's been going around the internet, and I really don't have any opinion on this. I haven't looked into it too much because it's not a product that I currently use or have been using. But apparently there's an ingredient that was banned in Europe, I think. And
well, yeah, the European Union has like their own. It's basically like the FDA of the U.S. And
the U.S.
They're not always exactly.
Well, the U.S. just took it out or something. I don't know exactly, but apparently it was linked to infertility, and so it's going around.
What is it in?
Olaplex. It's like a shampoo, like a high-end shampoo.
Oh, okay. I've
yeah,
never,
that's okay. Sorry, I probably should have explained that.
Oh, so it's a that's like the brand of shampoo or mm-hmm. the actual shampoo? Like
that's the brand,
or
yeah.
It's not the ingredient, that's like the brand name. Sorry.
Well, it's okay. Idea. So the shampoo is called Olaplex, and it's the number 3, I think. And in the ingredient list, there's an ingredient called Lilia. There's another term for it. Okay. And apparently that's what's linked to infertility. Again, I have not researched this at all, so I'm only seeing, there's like a lot of speculation about this online. Like people are like, yeah, it does cause infertility, and other people are like, don't believe everything you hear online. So I'm taking it all with a grain of salt.
Yeah, exactly, and better safe than sorry. But yeah, there's a lot of times where studies will come out and they kind of cherry pick them.
Yeah.
Whether it's like aspartame, everybody's got an opinion on like artificial sweeteners. Like there was studies back like 10, 20 years ago that showed it caused like Alzheimer's and all these bad things and cancer and stuff, but they were all basically debunked.
Okay.
But people still have very strong opinions on artificial sweeteners. But just to use that as an example, like not all studies are the same.
Right.
And industries will cherry pick studies to fit their narrative and so their products are in a better light, so. Right. Yeah, it's hard to know it's hard to sift through all of the studies and all the facts, especially nowadays. There's so much like I guess, misinformation, whatever you want to call it, or just so much noise. It's hard to find what's real and what's not.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
It's confusing.
Yeah, depending on what article you read or what, who you're following online, you could have a totally different view, whether that's the right view or the right information or not.
Yeah, people get very polarized with it.
Yeah.
Very much.
For sure. Yeah, that's, I think, one of the dangers of social media is you believe who you follow and you believe, like, what you consume for the most part. Like, I think just a normal person, like, if they were to see, like, the Olaplex pop up, they'd probably believe it unless they're, like, a super skeptic like you. And which I think is, like, a rare person.
I'm always, anytime anyone makes, like, grand claims of anything, like, literally anything, I'm always like, are we sure? Like, let's, like, really, like, look into this,
He's always questioning me. Always. Like, if I say something, he's like, whenever you sound super confident.
Yeah, I do say it.
What do you say?
Anytime she acts very confident about something, I'm like, I don't know. And sometimes you're wrong, even when you're super confident, when you think you... And we're all susceptible to that. Like, we all have our own biases and, character flaws, and sometimes we don't know what we're talking about when we think we do. And we're, in our mind, we're 100% right. But then once you kind of zoom out, you can see the ways that your logic is flawed.
You're not wrong.
I'm not saying that to you. I'm saying that 100% to me, because I've been proven wrong. I've proven myself wrong before.
Well, most of the time when you tell me that, like, or when you question me, I know I should be questioning what I'm saying, but I'm just frustrated that you're questioning me, so I get more confident to try to prove my point, but I should learn a little from you.
You should.
A little bit.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, man. I want to...
that was a tangent. What were we talking about? IVF?
Finding out you're pregnant. You think it's twins. I think that's about it. I've definitely been overwhelmed with... all of the congratulations online. It's a lot when you post big news like this, when you are a content creator or, on YouTube and Instagram. Like, it's such a humbling feeling knowing so many people care about you. And I just want to say thank you if you're one of those people who messaged me or
me too. I've been getting...
Have you?
Yeah, I've been getting messages
There's no possible way I can respond to every single person. So I've just been trying to say thank you whenever I get the chance, because I see the comments. I see, for the most part, I see the DMs. I just want to say thank you. It's been definitely an overwhelming feeling. On the other hand, it's really hard for me to go through, like, my DMs or even some of the comments sometimes, because I don't want somebody to take my, like, joy away or excitement away. There's been
it's a double-edged sword.
It is, and there's been, like, a couple of DMs that I've opened up, and I'm like, that wasn't necessary. You don't need to say that. Like, that was mean. And I've just kind of, like, tried to, I don't know.
Like, what's an example of one?
Let me think. Like, I had somebody, like, one thing that really stuck with me is somebody who questioned me and said, don't you think it's too early to share? You're only 5 weeks pregnant. Like, why are you sharing? And I had been getting pressure all week long from others. I shouldn't say from others, from a handful of people. I have so many amazing people who follow along, who respect my boundaries and understand, like, why we wait to share and process information.
And the perspective is, like, we also have family.
Yeah.
And we don't want them finding out
on social media.
From social media,
that's accidentally happened before in the past, like, on certain things, and
we
it's
don't
the
want
worst.
That to happen. So we wanted to make sure that we, dotted our I's and crossed our T's to make sure that we told everyone, like, all of our close friends and family.
Yeah.
Before they found out, because most of them follow us. Not that they probably watch everything, but we just wanted to be sure, because we've made that mistake in the past. Yeah, I feel like that's disrespectful. And it's not like we, like, waited, like, weeks and weeks to share this information. Like, we waited a week. We waited a week, and we wanted to make sure, like, our betas were rising and everything. But I had been getting pressure from a handful of people to share the news. Like, people were legitimately saying, why are you withholding this information from us? You're just stringing us along, trying to get more views, when that is, honest to God, not the truth at all, not even close to the truth. And then, when I share the news,
then I'm getting questioned, why are you sharing so early? Like, aren't you concerned? Which, I get it. They're valid questions. I mean, I don't think you should ever pressure somebody to share something they're not ready to share, so I don't think those were valid. But I think questioning, I don't know. Then again, I'm like, it's nobody's business except ours. Like, if we choose to share, we choose to share.
Yeah, and that comes down to the parasocial relationships. We were talking about that before we started the podcast.
And actually, I shared a little bit about what was going on and my Instagram stories earlier this week about the pressure to share when I wasn't necessarily ready to share, and creating boundaries and setting boundaries. And a lot of people messaged me saying, hey, you need to look up parasocial relationships. I'm sorry, I'm like out of breath. I literally just had to take a break because I'm already out of breath and I'm like 2 days pregnant.
Yeah. She's doing cardio yesterday at the gym. Not, I'd say cardio, but like light cardio.
Yeah, light cardio.
Taking it very easy, but yeah, you were having.
I was like,
out of breath, so you kind of took it easy.
Yeah.
Which you should.
Yeah, I've definitely still been like going to the gym and stuff, but modifying and listening to my body and taking breaks when I need it. But anyways, back to the parasocial relationships that we were talking about. This is something I've found very fascinating because it puts a definition to something like I personally experience, and I think
we all experience it
in a way,
whether even if you're not the content creator, like I follow tons of like fitness stuff, and I follow like the same guys on YouTube, and I've watched their videos for years now, or like the Joe Rogan podcast, and and other tons of other podcasts, but it's like I have to realize that although I follow and, use, or what's the word?
Consume their content?
Although I consume their content, it's that we're not like best friends, and I don't know them.
Right. Like
personally, and they don't know me personally.
Right.
And they could.
It is a one-sided relationship.
It is very much a one-sided relationship. Yeah. For the most part.
Right, and that's what a parasocial relationship is, in just a general definition of it. Feeling like you know somebody because you consume their content and because you watch them on YouTube or Twitch, or you follow them on Instagram, or they're a celebrity and you read the tabloids and you feel like you know them, and you don't. Like you only see what the media puts out about them, or you only see the content that they choose to share, and it is a very much a one-sided relationship, and I think that is
and I would say
what's interesting.
I would say less so for like channels like yours. Like it is a very personal, like I feel like this is the real you, and I can honestly say that.
Right.
But yeah, people still don't know you like on a personal level.
Right.
But I think it's closer to personal and personable than like a Kim Kardashian or a Kanye
Absolutely.
West.
Oh yeah, I do not compare myself. No.
No, I know. I'm just saying that like I would say like the ultra celebrities, we very much don't know them personally.
Very much so, yeah.
But I say that it's still a one-sided relationship with content creators similar to yourself.
Right.
But I'd say it is a little more personal.
It is, and I think that's because I interact with my audience, and a lot of influencers do. There's a lot of influencers who don't, but I make it a priority to interact and respond to comments and talk to people through DMs and, learn from my audience. And I think that's a good thing. I think it's a really good thing because I constantly have people tell me how much that I've influenced their life, but people don't understand how much my audience has influenced my life and how much I learned from my audience. For example, there's somebody I've been talking to throughout our entire IVF journey, and she has been my best support because she was going through the same thing I was going through with the same diagnosis, and we were just kind of in similar boats. We were, we retrieved a similar amount of eggs. It was just so crazy and so bizarre how similar we were. And I found her through the internet, and she's somebody who truthfully helped me through my egg retrieval transfer, just through my infertility journey. She was a big part in all of that.
Yeah, well, and the thing that comes to mind is whenever we're we can't figure something out, or we have a question. I can't think of a specific example.
Yeah.
But I'm like, why don't you ask Instagram?
Yes, like when we need somewhere to eat. Remember that one time we were in, where were we?
That's why I say
California?
it's like, it is a one-sided relationship primarily, but I there is a little bit of give and take.
There is, yeah. It's definitely a little different, like in my situation or with influencers. But I do think it can become a little too much, and boundaries can be crossed occasionally. And I've definitely had to recently put up boundaries and be firm with my boundaries and not let the pressure of others dictate what I share, when I share it, how I share. There's a few things that I've just decided we're not discussing. We're not going to talk about. It's nobody's business. No matter what I say, it's going to be the wrong answer. For example, like what we're doing with our second embryo.
Yeah, or politics just in general.
Oh, politics, yeah, obviously.
I mean, yeah, because
definitely not going there.
When COVID hit and like there's the riots and stuff, you got a lot of hate messages
from people who don't follow me, people who didn't even know me. I'm like, who are you? What is, like, you don't know who I am or what I do. Or
and that's not to say you can't ever get political, but it's like I have a whole opinion on it, but the silence is violence type of mentality is very toxic. And I'm not saying that's Caitlyn's view, but that's definitely my view. Like, forcing someone to say something is very authoritarian. It's a slippery slope, and I know the slippery slope's a fallacy, but it's a very slippery slope to me when you have to, like, if you don't say what I want, then you're a bad person. Yeah. That, in a sense, is very, very toxic to, like, just extremely.
To everybody, both parties.
Yeah, it doesn't help anybody.
No.
And that's not to say that we disagreed with them, but it's like, that's just not what our channel is about, you know?
No, yeah, stay in your lane.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what we talk about here, nor do I want to. I mean, I think we can definitely be a little bit more opinionated here on the podcast. Like, I feel like this is a safer place to, you know, talk about more, you know, things without the fear of becoming demonetized or, you know, something like that, because I feel like YouTube has definitely gotten a little bit more strict, and you have to watch what you say a little bit more, which I don't like. And
yeah, very much.
But
and we don't I would say, like, not to go off on a tangent on politics, but I don't think we really fall into any particular box with politics. Yeah. But the minute you take even, like, oh, I kind of agree with this or I kind of disagree with that, you just get lumped into one side or the other. And it's like, that we don't, we're not about that.
Same with religion.
100%, yeah.
Yeah, we're the same way with that.
But the real religion is that we're living in a simulation theory.
Of course. Okay, that's a topic for an entirely... we should talk about that next week, actually, because I am fascinated by your point of view on that.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's an entirely... That needs to be an episode dedicated to that, because there's so much to unpack in that.
When I talk about it, people will think I'm out there.
They will literally, like, drop their mouth and be like, this dude's crazy. Like,
maybe, I don't know.
I mean, I think that, but it's also super fascinating. Like, Ty's taught me to be very open-minded when it comes to anything, and he has taught, I mean, I'm not a skeptic. I'm very much an oblivious person, and I'm gonna admit that.
Not on everything.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay, well, I feel like I've started to question things more because of him, and I don't know, just thoroughly think things through and not believe everything that I see or hear. It's
a good and a bad thing. Like, with me questioning everything, you can get paralysis by analysis fairly quickly.
Yeah, you have that a lot, I feel like. Yeah. Anyways, back on track to what we were talking about. One thing that I wanted to address is something that, like, is important to us that we had to set a boundary for, is like what we're doing with our second embryo, because we did announce that, like, we had 2 genetically normal embryos, and we didn't know if we were going to have to use both of them. We didn't know. And we still could. I mean, it's still... But... It's frozen right now. It's still frozen. And that is as far as we're going to say. Like, I don't think it's anybody's business, no offense, what we do with our embryo. So it's just not something, and I don't think there's anything, like, we could say, like, no matter what we choose to do with it, it's going to be the wrong answer to somebody. So I think that's just something that does not need to be talked about online. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's definitely been like a hot question. I don't know why everybody's so concerned. I'm like, can we just be happy for my embryo that is growing? Like, can we just be happy for this? Like, let's just like stay in our lane and just be grateful for the moment. But I feel like in this world, in social media, everybody always wants the next best thing. It's like, as soon as you get pregnant, do you want a third? When are you sharing the gender?
What's next?
What's next? And for us going through infertility, we very much have learned to live in the moment and appreciate the moment and appreciate the little wins when they happen.
And the perspective of it all with that is, it's a privilege to have like that following where people are very much involved in the things that are going on in your life.
It is.
And that's obviously a positive. That's awesome. But with it, comes a flip side of like people more and more and more and more. I mean, but that's just human nature. It is. It's almost like with anything, you can get desensitized. You do something too much, you get desensitized, and you want more and more. It's like, I don't want to call it addiction, but it's a similar pathway probably.
No, I agree. And that's actually, I think I said that word for word in my Instagram stories. I said, I really appreciate how many people are so invested in our journey, but we have to set boundaries. Just because we share so much of our life doesn't mean we have to share it all. Just because we share our IVF journey doesn't mean we have to share every single detail. We still have to set up boundaries for our mental health and to keep things private. And there was a ton of people who messaged me and said, listen, like, I'm a true follower. Like, I've been following you for years. We get it. We understand. We're here for you. We respect your boundaries. We love to know when you are ready to share, but we respect your boundaries. And I am so grateful for those people who follow along.
Well, I would say that's the vast majority.
That's the vast majority, yeah. And I think we talked about this in our last podcast episode. As humans, we tend to focus on the negative. And I really am trying to switch that mindset. And I don't feel like I really focus on...
You could read, I mean, everybody, like anything you post online, you could read, or like a job, like your annual review. Yeah. Everything's great except that one thing.
You
and
want
it's the same thing. You got that one negative comment versus 50 great ones.
Right.
And then you think about that negative one. That one occupies a space in your brain where the other ones are great, but for whatever reason, it's just human nature to not...
to hyper-focus on the negative. Yeah.
And it's just human nature, and it's...
Yeah. And I wouldn't say the negative affects me, like, greatly. I think it used to more than it does now, but I feel like I have a pretty good balance of appreciating the good and taking the bad with a grain of salt. And I don't really get a ton of bad either, as far as I'm aware, at least in my Instagram stories or messages or comments or whatever, but it happens occasionally every week. But anyways, that's kind of what is going on in our world. It's been a crazy, crazy week. I'm glad the news is out. I'll be better when we actually share the gender, because then I won't have any more secrets to keep. The worst at keeping secrets.
It's one of those things, like, we're not withholding information to drag it out, like, truly. Like, I know we've already covered that, but, like, really, it's not about that. It's not about that.
I think right now we are just waiting on, I don't know if you know this, but like, I have a whole plan in my head on how I want to announce the gender.
Yeah, you haven't really talked to me about that.
I was hoping maybe we could do it next week because Scarlett's on spring break, but honestly, we just need to take the time to go. I want to film like this little video thing, so in the desert, so we just need to get like dressed up and go to the desert. But that's my plan, and hopefully we can make that happen next week. And also, I didn't want to share until we do the ultrasound too.
Yeah, that's probably good.
I don't know. It's hard because like, regardless, we want to like honor this baby no matter what. But
what does that mean? Honor the baby?
Like like honor, like, I don't know, make it more human. Give it a gender. Like, does that make sense? Like,
okay, I see
no matter what happens,
I was like, what? Honor the baby.
Okay, it does sound kind of funny. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's kind of just like our next step, because we've told now all of our family and friends. They know like the sex of the baby, and we cannot wait to share. So that is yeah, that's like next on our to-do list. We just need to actually go do it. And since this is our last baby, I want to have a fun gender reveal, and I have every right to do that. I have every right. I deserve this. I keep telling myself, like, don't pressure us. I deserve this. Like, that might sound a little...
It's not going to be a cringy one, is it?
No, it's not going to be cringy.
Okay, good.
It's not going to be cringy. I'll tell you after the podcast.
That's like the whole TikTok thing right now. Or it is like the cringy...
We're not popping balloons or anything like that.
Or blowing stuff up. People are lighting fires.
We're not doing that. No. We're not doing that. It's going to be very simple, but I have this vision in my head, and as long as I can film it myself, that's going to be the hard part, is like being in the video and then also filming it myself. But as long as I can figure all of that out, I think it'll be really good. But stay tuned for that. So that's kind of what we're waiting on now, is that. But I know a lot of people want to know the gender, and I know a lot of people know the gender already because I accidentally said what the gender was in Instagram Live. But I was so frustrated with myself because there was still like family and friends and our daughter that we had to tell.
Yeah.
We hadn't even told Scarlett yet, and I blurted it out. Totally.
Well, she's young enough to where...
I know, but I was
she's
just
excited.
like...
We've already talked to her.
Yeah, she knows. So yeah, that's our next steps, and I guess we'll find out if it's just one or, in Ty's opinion, multiple babies at our next appointment, Monday. We'll report back in our next
What if it's
episode.
The embryo we transferred, and then you naturally got pregnant?
I don't think that can happen. The medication...
That's probably medically impossible.
The medication that I'm on prevents me from ovulating.
Maybe like 1 in a million chance.
I don't know. That'd be wild.
That would be wild. Like, they're not identical.
Yeah, that'd be so crazy. I wonder if that's happened.
I'm sure.
I'm going to look it up. Hold on.
I'm sure. And then, yeah, you always wonder about, like, switch-ups. Anytime you do anything like that, like, obviously I trust our fertility clinic and everything was tip-top. But you wonder about out there somebody getting the wrong kid implant, the wrong embryo. That's, like, terrifying.
Oh my gosh, it was on the Today Show, and it says, whoa, woman gives birth to twins and IVF baby at the same time.
Wow, so they implanted one.
And she got pregnant with...
And she got pregnant with twins.
Twins. Hold on, I gotta read this. Shortly after doctors implanted the embryos, so I think they implanted 2 embryos.
Okay.
Soon after that, she received the news that she had been waiting to hear for almost a decade. She was pregnant. But when she went to her first sonogram, the technician saw something surprising, triplets, and she said she was in shock.
So in that case,
only 1 fertilized embryo had implanted. Doctors said the twins were conceived naturally.
Wow. So one of the embryos didn't implant.
Yeah.
One did, and then she naturally got pregnant with twins.
Yeah, that is wild. One can conceive naturally when undergoing IVF treatments, and the implanted embryo can take. It's possible.
So maybe you have the embryo implanted.
That's and then crazy.
You naturally got pregnant.
With like quadruplets.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's so easy for us to get pregnant. Oh my gosh. Well, it is possible. Everything's possible, but
It's like a 1 in a million.
Yeah. I think our chances of the embryo splitting, Ty's looked everything up since
It's definitely higher because of the HCG levels.
Yeah,
but that is not a foolproof indication.
We have a chance of 1 out of 100 of our embryo splitting. So,
1% chance.
1% chance. So, I don't know. I don't think that's the case, but we will see. Definitely fun. I'm just so grateful that this worked, and I've been very careful about sharing our news and, talking about, like, I don't know why a part of me feels guilty in a way, and I don't know. I'm like conflicted because I'm so grateful we're pregnant, but I know there's so many women who follow me who are struggling to get pregnant as well, and so I've been trying to be very careful and just sensitive to this type of content. Because
a lot of women have reached out to you.
Well, and a lot of my new followers over the past year are women who've also are experiencing infertility or have experienced infertility, and so it's you see things in a different light when you've lived it, and I've definitely just been trying to be careful about how I put things, but I also have the right to celebrate. This has been a long journey.
I think what you have is it's like a version of survivor's guilt.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
A lot of veterans have that like have lost, friends overseas or something like that. It's like the same, because now you're pregnant and there's other women that you probably talk to, in DMs and stuff, that are going through that are still struggling to get pregnant.
Right. Or like I know women who are, keep going through egg retrievals and can't get viable embryos, and it just breaks my heart because I mean, Ty and I had this conversation prior to our transfer working. We said that if we had 2 embryos and if they didn't take, we were done. We weren't going to go through.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if we ever like 100% made that decision, but I was more indifferent.
You were, I think, were surprised to hear me say that.
I was very surprised. I just assumed going into this that if this doesn't work, then it's going to be round 2. And I was worried because that's a lot of, money is not the issue, but it's a lot of like, more needles, more medication,
yeah.
more hormones. Who knows what that does to you long term? Mm-hmm. It's just hard on your body.
Yeah, I'm extremely grateful. We only had to go through 1 round of IVF. To the women who've gone through multiple rounds, like they are incredible.
We're not out of the woodwork yet. I mean, we're still very much in it. Everything's going great.
Right.
We can't complain, but we're still very much in it.
Yeah, things could happen.
Don't jinx it.
Don't jinx it. I think I'm just talking from my heart. Like I truly feel like everything is gonna be okay. Like I feel very confident, and I think the next time we see our embryo, they will be on my chest, skin to skin. I keep wanting to say the gender. This needs to come out. But I don't know. Definitely been trying to be cautious. And if you are somebody who is experiencing infertility and or loss, if you've experienced infertility or loss and pregnancy announcements are triggering to you, I deeply understand those feelings. I understand like where you're coming from, and our hearts go out to those experiencing infertility or loss. So another thing we kind of wanted to touch on today that was kind of like brought to our attention. We're not going to obviously like say names or anything, but I wanted to like personally talk about it because it's affected us in the past, and it's kind of like
it's like a indirect. I would say it's still like a form of infertility, but like an indirect cause of fertility, if you want to call it that, where maybe one partner very much wants to have a baby. 100% wants to have a baby. And the other partner is kind of, pushing it off, saying, not right now. Let's wait a little bit.
But then that waiting becomes years and years and years.
And after Scarlett, that's 100% where I was.
Yeah.
Obviously, our marriage wasn't in the best place.
Right. We were in no place to have another baby.
Yeah, and that would have fixed nothing at the time.
But when this person, shared this information with us and reached out and told us this, I felt for her so much because I've been there and I totally get what she's saying. And the frustration and the waiting and the wondering and the confusion of not knowing if they will, if that couple will get to a place to make the decision to have a child, it's really hard.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard, especially if it's something you want so much.
And to be honest, like, when we first got pregnant, it wasn't really planned.
No, I was on birth control. We got pregnant on birth control. And
it was it was a shock to me for sure. I didn't feel like I was ready. But looking back on it now.
Well, that was the chemical pregnancy too.
Yeah.
Scarlett was planned.
Yeah, Scarlett was.
Yeah.
So at that time with our first chemical pregnancy, I definitely wasn't ready. Like mentally. I wanted to wait probably at the time. We
were in a 1-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
We were
just moved
barely
here.
Had any money in our bank account. Like we were in no place to.
Yeah, and
we were not married. Not that really matters, but.
And with that, I think it kind of, once you realize you're pregnant and you accept, oh, it's happening, and then it doesn't happen, and then. I think I think you were very devastated. I was too, honestly. But then once we had Scarlett, especially nowadays where she's like older and stuff, like even the infant stage, but when she's older, like I see why it's so important to have kids. And I think a lot of people in our generation are waiting too long, where their window of fertility is closing. And I think that once you have a kid, it's so worth it. And that's what life's all about. Everything else is just noise. Your family's everything. I'm not saying I never would have came around, but without like life kind of forcing that hand on me the first time, even though it didn't work out, I don't know if I would have learned that lesson.
Yeah.
I just had to, life just threw that at us, you know. And you were very much ready. I think I said I was ready, but deep down I don't think I was ready.
Right.
And without life just forcing that upon me, I don't know if I would have learned. And it's scary to think about now, because I feel like, without having a kid, and I know this is going to be hard for someone who's dealing with infertility, because,
right.
Keep at it. But yeah, that's what life's all about.
It is. And can I just say how amazing it is to hear you say that? Because like I said, for so long, we were, I wanted a second child. I wanted to give Scarlett a sibling so bad. And he was closed off. He said, nope, I'm done. No more kids. That's it. Mm-hmm. And it was so hard for me to deal with, and I tried to accept it. I tried.
She did. Yeah, for a long time she's like, I'm fine with it, but I could tell she wasn't.
Yeah, I think I would have had major regrets had I not, mm-hmm. stood my ground. And I think we both like agreed that like he deserved to be able to say no more, and I deserved to mm-hmm. still have that desire. And it's not the only reason we divorced, but again, we've always said this. That was, part of the divorce. And
yeah, that was a big part of it for sure.
So it's incredible to hear him saying that. But I think that also goes to show how people can change, mm-hmm. I guess, and realizations.
Yeah, and I think we all go through phases in our life. Yeah. And I think that was me going through a quarter life crisis or something, like
definitely,
like where my youth was slipping away, and all of a sudden you wake up and you're married with a kid, and it's kind of a shock,
yeah.
And especially we weren't doing very well, and I was like, man, the last thing I want is another kid. I was already stressed out at work, stressed out at home. I wasn't really happy anywhere. I was definitely in a dark place for a long time.
I'm glad we didn't try to have a baby. It would have been a very, very toxic. Not that having a baby is toxic, but for our relationship, it would have made things that much more difficult.
Mm-hmm. I don't think anybody should force anyone into anything, if you know what I mean. But
it's definitely got to be.
It's got to be mutual,
parties,
yeah. But I don't have any solutions on how to get one partner one way or the other. But I don't know.
It's a complicated,
tough.
It's definitely a complicated situation. But if you're experiencing that too, I
consider that a form of infertility.
Yeah, definitely in its own way. Mm-hmm. Anyways, is there anything else we needed to cover today? I feel like this has been a good conversation.
Yeah, I would just say have kids before it's too late.
Yeah.
If you're healthy, you don't have any infertility things, have kids. You'll never be perfectly ready to have kids.
Nobody's ever ready.
Yeah,
like, are we ready to have a second?
We'll find out. We'll find out. I feel like we're probably.
I think we probably are. Actually.
Nobody's ready, but I feel like of all the times in our life, we're probably the most ready now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say that's huge, and you don't want to grow old and find yourself alone, and have regrets. And I think most people would.
Yeah, I do too. I definitely agree.
Yeah. Not everybody. There are some people out there that probably are happy without kids, and that's totally fine. But I'd say they're definitely not the majority of people.
Yeah, I agree. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for listening to today's episode. This has definitely been one we're excited to share with you all, and we're very excited for, what's to come, and we'll definitely give an update of our ultrasound in the next episode. Anyways, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you guys in our next one.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Do you want to follow along with us more? We would love that. Follow us over on YouTube and Instagram at The Modern Mom and Dad Podcast to interact with us, ask us questions, and to see behind the scenes. Thanks for listening to the Modern Mom and Dad Podcast, and we will see you next Tuesday.